Hi folks, and welcome to Live from the Space at 100th Taylor with musical guest Katie Cole. And hi guys, and welcome to Live from the Space at 100th Taylor. I'm Jamie Rodriguez. This is my co-host, Jeff Fasano.
How you doing, folks?
And today we're honored and really grateful to have the amazing Katie Cole join us.
Yay!
Hi, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Katie. Thanks for coming.
And so nice to actually meet you in the flesh after we've done. We've done, I think it was it Zoom podcast?
We did the original podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
So seeing you in three dimensions.
Yes.
Much better.
Yes, but it feels like I've met you before. It's cool.
I know, and now you're in Nashville.
Absolutely. And Katie, let's start with this. Let's start with that. When we last talked, it was like we were in the heart of the pandemic. And I feel like we're like getting out of the weeds now of it, or like in the last chapter.
Yeah.
How is Katie Cole different today than when the pandemic first started?
I think I've grown in a way I didn't expect. I mean, I came the last sort of few years leading up to the pandemic. It's so sinister. But leading up to us sort of shutting down, civilization and so forth, I'd done so much touring and had become so used to being comfortable in front of tens of thousands of people, which that's a really strange thing to say, but I became comfortable, really embracing the fears that I'd previously had. I mean, I've performed for so many years, but being on tour with a band that I play in, the Smashing Pumpkins, outside of my career, and being, in those crowds of like 50,000 people or 100,000 people, and like they come with their own soundtrack. Yeah. You walk out of the stage and you're like, what?
Of course.
I got used to that in a way. Obviously, it's still exciting every time, and to then go to a virtual shutdown of nothing, no show, nothing. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a huge shock for any touring artist, but I really took it upon myself to learn other skills. I've always been pretty, not tech savvy. I'm not one of those people. I can't write, compute and write and design an app or anything like that. I'm not that sort of tech savvy, but I just sort of took it upon myself to sort of dive more into the streaming world, and I started to play a lot more online concerts and just continue my relationship and find a way to be personable with my fans. And I think I did a good job of that. And I've maintained it because, when you start something, I'm always that person. If you're going to start something, it's not that you have to know where it's going to go, but you've got to know that you can, that it's of a high quality and that you can replicate the emotional response you're getting out of your fans. So instead of going live, like a lot of people went live on Facebook and Instagram and just kind of jammed it out, right, and all that stuff, I decided to plan concerts and made them themed and took requests from fans and learnt tons of songs.
Did you do it live on Facebook?
I did it on a site called Stage It. It's all live, but my thought process was watching everybody go live on Facebook and Instagram and everything. We all went into that sensory overload thing, because everything became online. So I was like, if I can take people off a website where you can easily be distracted and be like, what's my friend doing, or what are they doing? Mm-hmm. Or you get indications that someone else has gone live and you want to switch networks. I thought, take it off, make it a real experience so that if you're watching my show, you're going to watch the whole show.
Right.
And so I've been doing them on that site, Stage It. It provides like a 30-minute show plus a 20-minute encore, and it lets you know, you've got 10 minutes left. It flashes up on your screen, but you can read the chat windows all in live, so, in real time. So I tell people to do clap emojis and stuff, because obviously I miss the sound of an audience, as any live performer does, but I don't know, I maintain a level of quality, plug in good sound, good lighting, make it feel like a show. I think my fans have been really sort of excited, and I don't know, I sort of gave them part of what they really wanted, which is that everybody misses live music. And I know obviously we can start introducing some of it now, but I still think I've built something that I don't know will go away, because it's still, I don't know. You can tune in and you have this connection.
And it must be interesting from your perspective when you are on tour, on stage, you see the people clapping, crying to your songs, all that stuff, but now you're actually like reading.
Yeah,
like,
I'm reading
it.
I'm reading it, and I've gone over that sort of learning curve of like, I am reading words to I can imagine what these people are thinking when they're saying those things. Like, oh, that made me really sad, that song, or you know, people will tell you it's like, that was one of my favorite songs, or my dad played me that song, or it's one of the first vinyls that I ever bought, or whatever it is. I don't know, I've learned to translate to being more than just a comment on a Facebook or YouTube thread. These are people right now. They're literally right there. I just can't see them, and they're taking their time out to come watch me play a thing. Like, you've got to earn that. And so I don't know. I don't know. I just tried to create something that was, you know, special in the meantime till we could get some sense of normalcy back. And I don't know. I don't know if it's ever coming back, but I've always respected my craft, and that comes down to the way that something's performed and the relationship you have with those people, because, you know, they're your fans. They could be anywhere else at that moment, but they're there with you. So I never take that for granted, whether it's, you know, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. I don't care how many people. I never do a different job. Like, I would never play different to 10 people as I would to 10,000 people.
Amazing. Yeah, and it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can I just give props to the marketing that you get to the stages? Like how you did those like Rolling Stones and Beatles, like Photoshop. I gotta give it to you. That was pretty hilarious. How you would like
I'm an idiot, and
like
I like to
and then
edit
like you're in
things.
the Abbey Road shot. And
I know, I did. I photoshopped myself like walking on the road like an idiot.
No, it's great. It was great.
Well, there's only so many times that you can put a poster of I'm doing this show. I tried to make each, you know, digital poster I make for each one of these types of shows fit the theme. I think the 80s one, I superimposed it's a really terrible 80s wig over the top of my hair, and it just looks
80s wig.
Like, it looks ridiculous.
It was amazing.
But because I want it to be like, as again, I said, you know, social media is like, it's that sensory overload sort of thing. I still, even though like most of those shows, like I'd still throw an original here and there, most of them are by request, and if they're themed, if it's 80s themes, clearly I didn't have music out in the 1980s, so that doesn't work for me. But people get to know your personality through those types of performances, and it may, even if you see like, because some of my songs are super serious, everybody knows that.
Well,
like
you're a super serious person for as long as I've known you.
I am a serious person, but my personality is still light, and I'm still humble, and I still make fun of myself, and, you know, I will cut myself down and everyone else down too. Like, I think we're all still humans, so I like to try and at least convey some of that in my delightful artworks.
What was okay? What was? I'm trying to phrase this. How do I think? Because I have 3 questions in one here.
Well, you can piece them out if it works for you.
So when we had all this time in this global pause to do a lot of different things, and you could do your themed shows. So most artists probably go, man, what was I influenced by? And then go back and do all those covers. Obviously you did that. So when you were doing that, what were the top 3 that you go, wow, I can't wait to get into doing these songs by all of these artists that I loved so much?
It's really hard to answer that, because over the course of doing a show a month, and I piece them out to do a show a month so that the shows can be high quality, the fans can interact, pick songs, and that I don't burn out fans as well. The people that are coming to watch me, that they're not like, it's a weekly thing.
It's a commitment.
It can be a lot. Some people want to see their favorite artists every week, but I mean, I did soul, 2 versions of 80s, 70s, women of song, movie songs. I think I did movie songs twice. Because obviously that covers a span of things. I did a Halloween show. I did Guilty Pleasures was one of the themes.
Guilty Pleasures,
There you go.
Super fun. So it's like, but I'm saying, but each one of those, even if you can say within like the movie songs thing, it still spanned from Somewhere Over the Rainbow to, songs from the movie from like The Crow. Like it was all over the map. So like some of those shows spanned multiple genres and decades. So it's hard to narrow it down. I was excited to play, let me think. I mean, I did Beatles and Stones, and like some of those songs were
What were your guilty pleasures?
I didn't get nearly enough of those requests. Like I thought people would be like, all right, give me like a Bananarama song. That's what I was.
Nice.
Honestly, that's what I was. That's exactly what I was expecting,
right.
and it's like I didn't get. I'm trying to think of any of the really out there ones. Like I think I was the one that threw in a couple of the really out there ones for that, but I thought that was going to be wild. I was expecting wild, like.
Yeah.
It's like rolling the dice, saying that to people, like, what do you really love?
So the Guilty Pleasure show was requests.
Yeah, all of them have been requests.
All of them have been
I'm
requests.
the only one, like, if I don't get enough requests, or if I'm like, I have to throw this into the
you'll
mix,
do a
then
poll.
I will pull a few songs. No, I will do, like, I will throw in a few and then make up the rest with requests.
So were you hoping for like Bananarama?
Well, I was expecting it. When you throw it out
Yeah.
there, I was like, I'm going to get some Madonna. I'm going to get some
Exactly.
Wham.
Yeah.
I'm going to get all, and I did.
Well, Wham would have been fun.
One would have been
But
fun.
people
Wham
just
would've
went,
been fun.
I've just always loved this song. It just went back to sort of normal requests. So to me, that was an opportunity to get sort of crazy with it. But
Right.
I don't know if a lot of people really, and maybe they didn't understand what it meant. I'm not sure. But I think the 80s ones and the 60s ones were really my favorites, just
Yeah.
because the quality of songs was
Right.
just.
That's what
So
that's what I
good.
was asking. Yeah.
And even like the soul songs that I did, a lot of the songs that come, from the soul era are, from the 60s anyway. So I've been lucky to learn some of those songs, but some of them were very complex. And even delving into the last Beatles and Stones one, it was like, I was doing Across the Universe and like these really
Right.
complex Beatles songs. And I learnt Blackbird on piano, which is a guitar song, but it's super difficult. Eleanor
Right.
Rigby on piano, and it's
Nice.
like just some very challenging songs. But it was, and like that was definitely one of my highlight shows. I knew it would be a big one just because you can't do Beatles versus Stones. It's really Beatles and Stones. You can't have one without
can't
the
have
other.
one.
You can't.
So
do
let
that.
me ask you a question. So you've done all of this,
Yeah.
right? And when we move out of this and you're playing live again, has doing all of that entire conglomeration of all of that, is that going to change your live show?
No, I've played covers. It's very, very simple. I've played covers were what I did in Australia as a kid for 10 years before I moved to America. I've learned thousands of covers in my life. Played acoustic shows, corporate bands, full bands. I've learned songs my whole life. I don't read and write music. I really know how to do what I can do because I've learnt so many songs. I recognize the patterns, I recognize the structures, I recognize where those chords are being played. It's not just this chord, it's this chord played like this. And it works like this because it's in conjunction with this melody. This is what constitutes a hit song. So all of those things have always gone into my brain and have always sort of, I suppose turned those cogs and made sense to me. Learning songs used to be, I think learning songs to me used to be a lot harder, but as I've as you do more of it, you become a more efficient musician. And efficient sounds very robotic. I'm aware of that. I am efficient. But it makes you, you hear the song, hear the pattern. I know exactly, and I'll hear it and I'll be like, I know I need to interpret it this way. Or sometimes it's like I need to play it exactly like that, or it's not going to work. Or I can't learn this cover because there's too many counter melodies. It's like I can't learn most songs by the Mamas and Papas and play them on my own because you need those counter melodies, or the song does not. I can't sing two parts at once. I can't sing like Tibetan style and split my voice into. But I've learned how to assess songs, interpret them, and also find the commonalities within songs. I've done that for my whole life. So doing this as part of the pandemic thing just made it more of a way to connect with my fans, keep them engaged while I'm putting out new music, because there has to be a point of difference. I can't just go online and just play my concerts and then be like, and now here's some more of my new music. You've got to, I mean, you don't have to, but for me, I saw it like I should split it up. So it's like, here's these things, I play a few of my songs. Here's these things, I play a few of my songs, I have a new video coming out. It becomes like, it's a different level of excitement. It's not just more of the same dressed up in a different way.
Sure.
So I've tried to, compartmentalize what I've done during this lockdown, so that it's layered and it's not all this one level of thing. It's not beneath me to play covers. I'd still do stuff for YouTube and other things, because people can't search for a song that they've never heard before. Mm-hmm. So if you stumble across something in my interpretation of this song or that song, then it's that, question, what else does she have?
Yeah.
Then you'll find me. And I've tried to pick smart songs and do smart interpretations that are out there publicly, so that they represent, it will never be this is what I do, but it'll represent part of my personality. And I've always tried to still maintain that level of mystery as an artist, so I'm not giving away everything I do and all that I do and everything that I am. So I will still show things like behind the scenes of this or that, or me setting up this or that, or this is how I explain to people, I had a bad day, or this is what my mum's going through, because my mum is quite sick. But I try to let people know bits and pieces, but still try to maintain a level of mystery still about who I am as an artist, that there's still an even bigger picture you don't know about yet, because everything's online. If that's the only way I can communicate with people now, it's hard to do that. It's hard to not just be this one level of this thing that will plateau. Yeah. I'm always really aware of that. Yeah. And I think I've had to use part, or a lot more than a part, of my creativity to work out that internal dynamic.
Duality, yeah.
It's not just about the art. The art is the most important thing. That's why I'm here. That's obvious. Mm-hmm. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here. I don't know what I would do. I'd probably work with animals or something. But to know that I can also use my creativity in the way that I go about showing people other parts of my personality. Yeah. Or again, using ridiculous artwork and doctoring myself into photos with the Beatles or the Stones, or whatever. I've always tried to, if I've got a thing in my head, this is the thing I want to do, I'll find a way to communicate it. That's important to me.
Definitely.
And I have a huge project that's coming up soon.
Why don't you play a song for us, and we'll talk about the project on the other side of the song.
You got it.
Yes, let's do that.
Have some tea first.
Yeah,
but thank you so much for.
Of course, yeah, but we're excited.
But also, again, doing what I do. Mm-hmm. I've always, I always try and find the way to express a level of gratitude. A lot of artists, there's an attitude that comes with rock and swagger and coming in with this thing and this facade and walking into a room and being the rock star and all that stuff. But I don't know, this pandemic has also made me super grateful of where the position that I'm in, the people that I meet.
Yes. Agreed.
It's like everybody had that mini health scare.
You're right.
So it makes you also reassess where you're at.
I love it. It's
All
true.
right. So here's a really sad song.
What's the name?
The name of this song is Lie to Me. I made it a really big focus for myself because I used to only write sort of up-tempo, feel good, find the happy way of saying the thing type songs. And I started to sort of delve into the other side of the fence of songs. So songs about the bad relationships and grief, and this song's more about grief and really not knowing what someone else is going through.
Nice.
Which is, you know, a big thing, especially now with the focus on mental health.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, here we go. Coat hangers, half-empty closet, stacks of papers, left how you wanted. Hope I make it through all of this tonight. Quiet hallway, covered in picture frames. Every memory, it's like a freight train. Hope I make it through all of this tonight. So walk back inside, lay here beside, and say it's alright. It's what I need, someone lie to me. Keep on thinking, you're still in this house, making small talk, sipping your coffee now. Your empty chair, well, it just don't seem right. Strange how people can hide the darkest secrets. You were so lost, I didn't even see it. The hardest part is I never said goodbye. So walk back inside, lay here beside, say it's alright. It's what I need, someone lie to me. I'm made of ash and dirt, in hell cold ain't it heaven all alone. The only way to get out unhurt was to swallow it down till the pain was gone. So walk back inside, lay beside me, say it's alright. It's what I need, someone lie to me. Yeah, lie to me. Come on and lie to me. Yeah, lie to me.
So Katie, we've talked a lot about covers. We talked a lot about music that you've done, but you've also released some of your own stuff. You had this beautiful song, "I'm Gonna Love You," and you mentioned that you have a new project coming up.
I do. Well, I learned a while ago that it's better to, I would love to just put out lots of music all the time and just be like, But it's better to give people sort of time to absorb a song and then focus on the next song. So I've tried to do that for the last crowdfunding that I did. I still have a couple songs to release from that, but I'm about to launch another crowdfunding for the next record that I'm making. It's a sort of semi-acoustic EP, but I'm planning to do a lot more with it so that I can make some more videos, because people don't really sort of, it's not that they don't understand how much time, effort, and money goes into having an artist career, but you expect on putting out a single, I want to also listen to it with my eyes.
Yeah.
And I had such an amazing response from the single I put out before I'm Gonna Love You, called Hands Tied. I shot with my friend Dalton Snedden, and my makeup girl did this amazing sort of glam makeup, huge hair. It's total sort of, Bardo 60s hair, which is like my favorite of all time. Like, what was the thing that Loretta Lynn said? Tease it to heaven and spray it to hell. Like that's the philosophy for hair. That always kind of stuck with me. But I'm about to launch that. I'm super excited about it because it's been a while since I've made music and actually had I'm always doing music, but when you go into sort of creator mode to write, and then to go into creator mode to go into the studio, it's a whole other experience. And
right.
I put so much time and effort into the things that I do. It's not just like me in the box making fat beats and everyone else is great at that. That's not my jam at all. I like to sit down, spend ages crafting and rewriting the songs. I do pre-production, which means, picking songs that I want to reference for, I want it to sound a bit like this, but have my flavor on it like this. It's a big undertaking to take on, to know I'm going to try to record a whole new thing. It's like it gives me excitement and / anxiety.
Right.
So, Katie, I've known you for almost 10 years. We met in LA. I went to see you play the Whiskey on Sunset Boulevard. And we've known each other and we've shared a lot over all of these years. I photographed you a couple of times. So I know for me, when the global pause happened last March, I went from a couple of amazing photo shoots into boom. And I decided to really go within and look at my life at that point, both as an artist, as a photographer, and me as a person. And I've done a lot of reflecting and I've done a lot of work. And I know I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm a totally different person now and a different artist. And I've had that time to reflect and go within. So for you, as an artist and as a person, what has shifted for you? Has anything shifted for you where you've grown, you've had a lot of aha moments or realizations about where I want to go as an artist, who am I as an artist, and all that good stuff?
I suppose I'll just give one-word answers. Yes. I suppose. I mean, I came off a huge European tour of playing 19 countries. Well, I played 19 countries in 2019 because we did Europe and then we did an American tour. And I had gone through a series of very stressful, high emotion, exciting bucket list, all those things. All those things to then the start of 2020, I was brought in to work on another project with the Smashing Pumpkins. I was asked to help with the background vocal arrangements for their album called Sia, and that's 20 songs. And the references for background vocals were The Sweet and Queen and Fleetwood Mac. And I was like, and I listened to these songs and I was like, whoa, okay, I've got a lot of work to do. And I went into the studio to help with that and record. It was myself, another background singer, and Billy also sang a few parts here and there too, along with obviously his lead vocals. But I had that sort of one of those aha moments was I'm good at this. I mean, I've always known that I'm good at it because I've always done huge background vocal arrangements, and I think background vocals are a part that's often missed in a song. It's not like every song needs to have blah, blah, blah. I'm not that person, but it's like sometimes it's like you can create this arrangement that does the job of an instrument while allowing space for other things. I've learned to navigate that throughout my career, and that's a time where I had the ability to apply it to somebody else's project in a very big fashion, and had amazing feedback from not only the band but the fans to get feedback from it, a little bit of recognition. But that was one of those aha moments for me. I'm really good at this thing that I do, and I think I also got that. After doing all those very big tours, I went from an arena tour one year to the huge European tour and playing, I mean, some of those festivals, as I said, it was like, Download Festival was 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Where you look out there and you're like...
Forever, yeah. Wow.
Like, it's crazy. It's just an ocean of people. So you get over your fears and you get over all that stuff pretty quick. But to realize I think I'm a better musician than I've previously given myself credit for. I still can't read or write music, and if I write charts, only I can understand what I'm saying, because it's just nonsense in some elvish language of notes. But I can play guitar. I never used to call myself a guitarist. I never used to call myself like a piano player. Even, raring to say I'm a vocalist, even though I'm a lead vocalist. I don't know whether I've always been too shy to admit the things that I'm good at, but like I definitely stepped into those, shoes to be like, this is something, I know what my skills are. Like I'm more confident in my skill sets, and I'm more confident in saying, these are these things that I can do, which is a big learning curve for me personally and professionally.
Yeah.
Because I can say that to other people, and within myself, I'm not cringing when I'm like, I'm good at this thing.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement, but I feel like I got better at it and acknowledged something in myself.
That was one of the biggest things for me, was I never realized, and it's really hard to say, isn't it? It's like, I'm really good at what I do. Isn't that, I think so many artists have a challenge with that.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Because as artists, we always are feeling vulnerable about what we're doing, because we're putting ourselves out there to the world.
Yeah.
And to really get to that place of saying, you know what? I'm pretty damn good at what I do.
Yeah.
I know for me, that was one of the shifts that I made in the last year ago, when I looked at everything.
Well, you put yourself out there, but the bigger realization on top of that is you put yourself out there and you're faced by you first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not that you put yourself out there and there's other people looking at you and you care what other people think. You care what you think more.
Yeah.
So it's the self-doubt and self-criticism and self-analytical stuff. That's the stuff that can be either the greatest joy or the greatest hindrance to your career. And also playing the comparison game with other artists. And I can't remember who said it, but it's like, comparison is the killer of creation.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, that is true.
Totally.
And when you're stuck in a lockdown situation, all you're doing is looking at it. Why am I doing this? I still play that game. Like, I can't not, because I like to know what other people are doing to try and get ideas too. But I often now, as in like recently, will be like, even if I'm still playing that, I want to do that, why am I doing that? I will come around to the final realization of, well, I'm also doing this that they're not. Or I've also had these huge experiences, like, again, part of that stepping into my shoes as the artist thing, like one of the experiences on the European tour, I've been rehearsing heavily with the Smashing Pumpkins for a month, if not more, because it was, learning the songs prior to that, and then rehearsing with the band in Chicago for a couple of weeks, and rehearsing in Germany for a couple of weeks before we start the tour. And that's like hardcore, bang, 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 bang. All you're doing is these handful of songs. Well, it's not a handful of songs, it's a lot of songs. First night of the first show of the tour, the opening band pulls out and I get my dressing room door, do you want to open the show? It's either you or no one. So I talked to the tour manager, Doug, who I love. He's an absolute treat. And I'm like, I paused because I'm like, I did that thing in my head of, do I know my songs? Am I prepared? And then I'm like, just give me half an hour, because it was like 4:30 sound check, you know.
Yeah.
I needed to go. It was going to happen right then. So I'm like, give me half an hour to go through my songs. I just want to make sure they're there in my like autopilot or whatever. Went through my songs and I'm like, I'm good to go. Literally finished, I'm good to go. Went out there, did my sound check and played to whatever it was, 7, 8, 9,000 people.
How did that make you feel?
Great. It was a great show, and like it was Norway, and
Perfect
they
crowd.
were expecting a metal band to be opening. So I'm like, guys, it's me or no one. Yeah. And like I just did my thing of showing my personality to the audience, and you know, winning them over. Told them some stories, and some of them, I mean, honestly, because a lot of people know who I am because they know my relationship to the Smashing Pumpkins, so they know my name, or they at least know my face, and they're like, she kind of looks like whatever. She kind of looks nuts. True, accurate. But you know, doing stuff like that and going out there and just playing essentially Americana folk singer-songwriter songs to a hardcore audience and still doing a great job. Absolutely. Like that's when you get those, I'm actually good at the thing that I do.
Absolutely, Katie.
And it's not that I need that validation, but under high stress with no notice, no nothing, whereas most people will if they'd been given that opportunity, you get to open for the Smashing Pumpkins tonight.
Right.
Be planning months in advance and rehearsing and sound, all these things, and there's me like, you know, a blink of an eye's notice and I'm out there.
Definitely.
To not my audience at all, clearly.
So, Katie, you've been so good with your time, but let me ask one more question, and then I'll let Jeff kind of like take it away. You had a great quote on social media that said, failure is the condiment that gives success its flavor. I think Truman Capote said it, but I loved it because I also live like that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, to me, that life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. That's like my motto. Tell me a little bit about a failure. I shouldn't even call it failure. A setback that you've had, Katie Cole, that has made you, in retrospect, just be grateful for it.
I mean, it's never been one thing. I think my whole life I can say that it's never ever been one thing. It's been the series of failures and little victories, one big victory, one big failure, whether it's relationships or spending too much money on this marketing campaign that went nowhere, doing radio campaigns that go nowhere to no one. I'm like, but you could, it's so easy to spend money on the wrong places with the wrong people, but I've always had that thing of, well, I haven't done it yet, and I don't know until I try, and what if this is the da-da-da? And 50% or more of the time, and it may be less than that, I could be, hacking up my percentages and doing terrible accounting. But when I take chances on things that are unfamiliar to me, like I took a chance on a radio promoter when I first moved to Los Angeles. He was a radio promoter for in the UK, and he's like, my niche market is breaking American artists, and I was American then because I was living in America, obviously. Clearly American, born and bred. So I was like, okay, I'll take a chance on this guy, and it wasn't a lot of money at the time, but it was money for me because I'm broke and the exchange rate at the time was terrible. Anyway, whole other side to that. Took a chance on that, and he got me playlisted a couple of times on BBC Radio 2, which is national radio there. When it happened the second time, and he's like, this is a thing. Independent artists don't get playlisted, and being playlisted on BBC Radio 2 is like, it's like the Tastemaker playlist. They have the A list, the B list, the C list in terms of rotation, but all the surrounding countries, France, Ireland, Scotland, they all look in at that chart to go, well, do we add those songs? What are those songs? So it's the Tastemaker. And I was like, well, okay. And then I was like, well, what do I do? I've now got people listening to my song and I'm not there. So I booked myself a couple of acoustic shows over there. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
You know, I went and played 3 shows and did some radio interviews with BBC, and like, here's me, I don't know what I'm doing, Katie over there. But you learn, and that was one of the victories of things that I took a chance on that worked for me. Things that haven't worked for me, I've been, whether it's relationships or taking a chance on doing this show or this tour or opening up for this person or spending money on this thing, or I shot an entire video for a song that I never released because the edit was never right. So it's like, and I spent money on it and had, you know, dances in the video, and it was like this big facade, and I'm like, I can't, my integrity says no. You spent the money, too bad. If it's not perfect and if it's not A-level, sorry. And that's how I've been that way for a really long time, because nothing will, if you don't think it's right, you're sort of doing everyone else a disservice by sharing it with other people and going, here's my almost good thing.
I like that.
You know, here's my B-level thing, or whatever. And it's not that, like, things, sometimes the things that I think are like, you know, cringeworthy or not good enough, to other people they may be like, oh my God. It may be those things to other people, but if I don't feel good about it, if I feel uncomfortable, that doesn't represent the best version of me or my art, I can't, it's not the right thing to do. It's just not. And I've turned down managers, labels. I mean, I've turned down a whole bunch of things that were not good. I don't know if they would have been the right thing or not, but if it's not right, it's not right. And even though some things may have been huge opportunities I've said no to,
your integrity.
I can't.
Your artistic integrity, man.
I just can't. And those failures, that things that have broken or not worked, or things that, again, that I've either invested in that haven't worked out, or relationships I've invested time in or emotional energy in that haven't worked out, I've learned so much from them. I've learned how to fail.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying you failed. People are always like, you didn't fail, you learned something from it. I'm like, no, it's okay to say I failed at this thing. It's okay to take it and go, I didn't win this one. Somebody else did. And if you know how to lose, I think that's a whole other thing, because you can't win them. You cannot win them all.
You know
but
what?
It doesn't stop me from trying, and that's what that post was really about. I give myself permission to keep trying these new things, to keep trying. I don't care if I fall down. I don't care if it's right for no one else but me. If I feel so heavily inclined to follow this particular path that I am making, that no one else has made for me, no one else is doing the work, I'm doing it, I'm okay to fail at certain things, because the other things that I've made myself that have been victorious, I'm super proud of. And I thank myself for them.
Yeah.
And obviously the team of people and fans and people that, without that foundation of all those people around me, I wouldn't do what I do. I think I'd still make art, but they're the ones that allow me to make it on a much bigger level. Like, they're the ones that say, thank you, or you told my story for me.
You know, one of the biggest lessons with what you're saying that I got back when I was, and I still hear his voice in my head, when I was at Parsons in New York, went back to study photography, and my mentor, teacher, he's my friend to this day, Mario Cabrera, we'd come out, and I'm going to make this really short, we'd show him our prints from the darkroom. And we'd do that, he would critique it, you go back in the darkroom, work again. And so one night I went out in the darkroom, there's a lot of people around, huge darkroom at Parsons in New York, and he goes, what do you think of it? And I looked at him and I said, I can live with it. And he looked at me, he said, what? You can live with it? Get your ass back in that dark room. And in front of everybody. Yeah. To this day, when I'm working on an image and I hear that voice come up inside of me saying, I can live with that, I hear Mario Cabrera. What? Yeah. You can live, and to what you were just saying, is that as artists, It's not about living with it.
No.
It's got to be, we've got to be so moved by what we're doing.
Yep.
Because we're doing it for ourselves. Last night I just saw Reverend Peyton and his big damn band at City Winery. And they played a couple of songs, and he says, I've seen a lot of people do this song and this and that. He goes, folks, I know we're here to perform for you, but this one's for me. It was great. And he just says, and I'm going to do it right now. And it was totally instrumental with the band, and it was wonderful. And at the end, he goes, you don't have to applaud. That was for me. And as an artist, I went, that's what we do, right? We're doing it for us first. We have to be moved by it, and then we will show it to the world.
Well, I think it's that, I don't know if it's something I read or something that just appeared in my brain, but like no one else will ever believe more in your art than you do.
Right.
You can't, and like that's the myth of like a record label or a manager or an agent or whoever it is that's in the creative realm for creative people. You cannot ever expect them to be as passionate as you, ever. They cannot.
No.
They can be passionate and should be, because if they're working with you or for you, they should be.
Right. But it's your baby.
But it's your, well, it's you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's your art, but it's also you. It's a part of you.
I agree.
And like those things of like, you said it's, it was your teacher. Like for me, if I'm listening to a vocal or a part or a song or a lyric or whatever it is, I mean, I'll often do, revision after revision or take after take. And some people can go into the studio and just sing like, the first take and that's the one. But often for me, unless I've been singing out a song for an extended period of time, I don't know how far a song can really go. I don't know how far a song can go with me singing it a certain way or changing the way I sing it. And that's where working with my producer works, because he'll basically kick me until, not physically because that would be illegal, he'll kick me until I get to a place where he's like, he'll say to me stuff like, well, how would Aretha sing it? I'm like, I can't sing like Aretha. I'm not Aretha. And he's like, but how would she approach it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, she'd go hard here and you'd feel that. And then this part, and then he's like, and she'd swagger off the beat and come back to it. He's like, he always sort of kicks me in that position of like, you're not using all of your vocal. And it's much easier for me to use more of my vocal singing someone else's song, because I'm not thinking it through so much. I'm just expressing it and acting on what feels right. So I might interpret a song and take it somewhere else just for this verse because it feels right. But I don't always do that in the immediacy of writing a song. I'll write the song first and I'm true to the melody and I respect it. But then there's times where I have to come back to it and, push on the boundary of where that melody is because it needs to have the expression, or push on the boundary of where the pitch is because it needs to have that emotional expression that it's missing. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be right. So you'll know, and if it's not right, if you've got the right person, the right teacher, producer, manager, someone else is around you, if they point at something and like, and if you inside you have that spark that goes, I know, that's when you change it. That's when you fix it before it's out there. But you should also have some level of that internal notion.
So when you just said, my songs and what I do is me, one of the questions we're asking on our shows of all the artists is, who is Katie Cole right now, in your life right now? Like I said before, I've known you a long time. Who is Katie Cole right now in April, May of 2021?
A lot more fierce than I used to be. And that takes a lot to say that. I'm humble, super grateful for the opportunities that I've been given, because when I take on board the fierceness that I just mentioned, when I realize the opportunities I've been given, I also know that I wouldn't have been given them if the people around me didn't think I could do that job. So, and now I know, as I said to you, I realize that I am capable of doing these jobs. And it's not ego, it's not being overly confident for the wrong reasons, it's just looking at my past. When you look back down through your path and go, I've done a lot. Like, I've done a lot. Even down to I sacrifice sleep on tour to go out and see something in every single city in every single country, because I don't know where I'm back again. I don't know if I'll ever be back again.
Yeah.
You wake up in Luxembourg and you're like, what do I do here? Mm-hmm. So you go see a thing. You go, that desire to seek has never stopped in me. Nice. I want adventures. I don't always know how to create those adventures. I try my best to just keep my eyes open and just be, I don't know, I know I'm nicer to people than I've ever been in my life. I've never really been like a total jackass or anything like that, but I do know that taking the time to talk to, again, in a touring situation, random crew members that I don't know what they do. I just know that they're working their butts off and they're away from their families too. Even though I might only get to sleep in like the 5-star hotel room for like 3 hours, they're sleeping in a truck somewhere probably. But talking to people, even if it's just waving at random people on the street, I don't care. I know I take more time to, I don't know, just be there. Be a bit more present. Being on tour and being on big stages and having these very high emotional states that you're in gives you, zen is not the right word, but you definitely are so far into the moment that you kind of space out almost. And if you have to catch yourself and bring yourself back into if you're in the moment too much, again, I'm around these very strange circumstances. I'm an Americana, down-to-earth artist, and I've been put in these really heightened circumstances, and you are forced to take in that moment, appreciate it, live it. It may not happen again. I've done that on every single show and every single tour I've ever been on, but that feeling of appreciating the moment becomes a habit. Mm-hmm. Even though it began in those heightened circumstances of like fear and adrenaline, excitement, and all that stuff, when you do it enough every single day, it becomes a habit, like anything. Yeah, that now I sort of wake up, and even though I'm not like, I'm having a heightened experience of getting the mail from the mailbox. Whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah, gratitude.
I'm still, it's that being present and just appreciating the day.
Right.
That's come with me full circle to where I'm at right now. And Beautiful. It's been a compilation of all those experiences, and having, obviously the pandemic is that sense of fear on health. Mm-hmm. But because I have that appreciation of the moment, I don't know, I don't think I worry as much as I used to. I don't have as much, I mean, I still have anxiety because we live in an anxious world, and we live in a stressful world, but I don't think I've got as much as I used to, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Cool,
Katie. Well, that was beautifully said. That's a perfect place to leave it. Why don't you take it away with one of your great songs from your great catalog?
No, this song's a metal song. No, I'm kidding.
A song that's going to reveal more of Katie to the world.
Well, this song...
Is this
what are you thinking, Katie?
Is this going to do that?
Well, I thought this would be a good one to bring to the table because it's super dark.
That's what we need, yeah.
Well, again, embracing... I've found more in myself when I edit less. I don't know how else to explain that, but I used to edit so much out of my songwriting. Again, it would be the happy endings and the upbeat attitude, and that's all part of who I am. That's obvious. You can hear it in my voice. I'm pretty positive. But along with that comes the shadow of so much that I've sacrificed in my life. Again, whether it's growing up with not much money, relationships I've left behind, watching things break around me, I don't know. But that all comes with you too. So I learned to embrace telling the darker end of the spectrum in stories too, because it's often left behind because people are too afraid to talk about it, or they think it won't be well received. But I started to do that thing of, but it's true. Mm. So this song's called Lullaby, and it's essentially a song about adultery. But it's much more than that, in the sense that it's also about the cascading effect that one tragedy can have on another relationship. This isn't a true story. I was telling Jeff a little bit earlier on that I am a storyteller, and I do like to compile my own personal experiences with experiences from other people, but I always draw from my own emotion. And I want to quote the artist Björk, because she always comes to mind. When you think about, because people are like, well, how can you put your emotion into it if it's not your story? It may not be exactly true to me, but it's true to somebody else. And if I put my emotion in it, it becomes real. And Björk once said something about her electronic music, and they're like, but it's mechanical and whatever. And she's like, well, if there's no emotion or no humanity in it, it's because nobody put it there. And I was that's always stuck with me. I mean, she's crazy and brilliant, but that applies to any sort of art. I don't care what it is. If somebody doesn't put the heart there, it's not going to be there.
Right. Exactly.
So this song's called Lullaby. Good luck to me.
To all of us. Yeah.
What an amazing setup. They said holy vows in front of the Lord. She was so in love, but he wanted more. His longing eyes fixed straight on me. Only one place this could lead. And our love was blind behind closed doors where no one soars. We never thought she'd find my lipstick like a puzzle piece, put it together, him and me. So will the gates open, see angels coming, or will God just close his eyes? Will there be church bells, or will I hear thunder for my last lullaby? For the thrill, cheap dime store thieves stealing kisses until that final scene. She locked the door and let that bathtub fill, cursed my name and climbed on in. Now his friends all stare like this whole damn town, while she's 6 feet under, but won't stay down. Can't be here, but where do the scarlet run when this hell can't be undone? So will the gates open, see angels coming, or will God just close his eyes? Will there be church bells, or will I hear thunder for gates open, see angels coming. Or will God just close his eyes? Will there be church bells, or will I hear thunder for my last lullaby?
Loved it. Thank you, Katie.
Heavy.
Thank you so much. Heavy but nice. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. So let me look at the camera now and say thank you guys for joining us. That is the great Katie Cole. Strongly encourage you to check out her discography. Follow her on social media. She's a great follow. And now a TikTok star, if I may say so myself. And of course, I'm Jamie Rodriguez. This is Jeff Fasano. You can find this show on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you hear your podcasts, and on our video and YouTube social media channels as well. Thank you so much for joining.